Hi, everybody. Welcome back to a special episode of Big Apple Hockey for the 2023 NHL Draft preview. And we've already been sitting here talking, having a great hockey conversation for the last 10 minutes. We figured maybe we should bring you guys in like we're supposed to. I, of course, am your host, Marc Williams, and I will just be an innocent bystander as I am bestowed upon the knowledge from our Mr. John Falkowski.
Definitely looking forward to Wednesday. This is going to be a pretty good draft. The Rangers actually have a draft pick this year, which is fun. I am of the belief that if something is available, I could see this team moving up. And I hope they do. I think there's some great talents that will be available, even at 23. But if they can move up into the teens somewhere, I think they can nab a pretty good player there.
All right. And our third member coming back to us, our guest, Mr. Statboy Steven of Wardy NHL.
Yeah, look, I'm interested to see how the draft's going to go. First round is on Wednesday. The Rangers historically are terrible drafting in the first round, so maybe they just cannot draft on Fridays. Maybe this is the key to our success.
Oh boy, I mean, and there's just been so much of that where you're just like, what the hell were they thinking? Like, just take Gordy Clark, you just lock him out of the room. He can't talk to anybody.
One phrase says it all. Smartest man in the room syndrome.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where they're always that's what they're always just doing. And guys, you know what? I was going to get your thoughts on the NHL draft, but first, let's get your thoughts first on number 23 and the New York Rangers. Who are they going to target, do you think, with that pick, Philk?
I've seen a lot of mocks that have Quentin Musty going there. I know a certain someone in this panel is not big on size. I wonder who that could be. But Quentin Musty's got size. He is one of the biggest players in this draft. But he's actually a deceptively good skater for his size. Has great hands. I think possibly an even better shot. And his playmaking ability is top-notch. You don't really see big playmaking wingers that often. Musty could be one of those guys. I like the way that he is along the boards with protecting the puck. He knows how to drive to the dirty areas to score goals as well. But Musty would be a guy that I could see if he's not the guy that they take. I think Cal Ritchie could be one of them. I also wonder, like, if Nate Danielson, because I've seen him mocked in a few different places, if Nate Danielson fell, I think the Rangers could take Nate Danielson too.
Steven, what are you thinking about that?
Yeah, like Phil already mentioned, the guy that I see the Rangers going after in Callum Ritchie, really good player in juniors, like high hockey IQ. The way he sees the game. He makes decisions like in a split second. Like he doesn't even need time to think, and that's the type of stuff that you cannot really teach. So that's definitely something that the Rangers could be interested in. And Quentin Musty, yeah, over 200 pounds, 6'2". The guy has the frame already, but aside from being quite big for his age, he's a really good skater. Controls the game. So those are the two guys that I'd look at. The other one, as Phil said, Nate Danielson. And look, if a guy like Edouard Salé, who plays for Brno in the Czech Republic, falls to 23, he could be an option. Or what we talked about earlier, Matthew Wood, if he falls.
I was gonna say him too. Oh my god.
Or if the Rangers somehow find a way to trade up. We know that the Rangers aren't afraid to trade up if they have a guy that they really want. We saw it in 2018 going after Keandre Miller. We saw it in 2020 going after Braden Schneider. Mm-hmm. The Rangers don't have a lot of draft capital, but you never know what they might pull out of the hat. If there's a guy 4 or 5 spots ahead of them that they're really interested in, and they have the draft capital to make that move up, I wouldn't be surprised to see them make that move.
Man, Matthew Wood, though, if they could pull that off, oh my God, right winger, huge size, 6'3", I think almost 200 pounds already. I see the Tage Thompson comparisons, and I like it. I don't necessarily know that will be what he will be, obviously, because the year Thompson had this year was unreal. But, like, how do you pass on that type of player? And the year that he had for UConn, unreal, man.
Yeah. And look, and this is something that may not be a factor per se, but when you look at players in certain leagues where the Rangers have a lot of prospects actually playing already, I always wonder if that is a positive or a negative, because you see those players more often. Do you then kind of put your blinders on and focus too much on those players, or do you see them often enough where you also see the downside of those players?
Well, like maybe what do you mean like Minnesota, like Wisconsin, like how like maybe Charlie Stramel might be on their radar because they go to Wisconsin a lot. They drafted Miller and so on, that type of deal. You mean
that or a team like Wisconsin plays against current Ranger prospects like Brody Lamb, who plays for Minnesota.
I see.
So when you have players like Brett Berard and Yaroslav Khmelars played for Providence this year, if you have those players going up against other college teams that have a certain prospect eligible for the draft, how much does that impact the scout's perception, both positive and negative? Like seeing someone 15 times instead of 10 times could really help like identify the guy you want to go for, but it could also make you second guess that guy because you see a little bit more of that player where the negative aspects are a little bit more visible to your scouts.
Yeah, all right. I would agree with you to a point.
Now, by the way, you guys talk about draft day trades. The one that always will stick out in my head for the rest of time is I think it was the 2000 draft when the Rangers traded up to get Jamie Lundmark.
99.
Thank you. I couldn't remember which one it was. So they traded up to get Jamie Lundmark, and they got Jan Hlavich from Calgary, who was a pretty good player for the Rangers in 2 stints. But also the guy they gave away was Marc Savard, who went on to have a great career and actually just joined the front office.
They made 2 deals that day, though. They made the trade with Tampa as well.
Yeah, I think that was already done before the draft that day. But yes, that was the trade with Tampa. Dan Cloutier, I think it was Dan Cloutier, Nick Sundstrom.
And that ended up getting them to 4 so they could take Pavel friggin' Brendel. My second home is McDonald's.
Pavel Brendel, still tied in goals scored with the 2 of us for the New York, the 3 of us for the New York Rangers, because he never played a game.
So those 2 trades are interesting because they didn't work out for the Rangers, obviously. Although Jan Hlavich was decent, part of the checkmate line. But if you look at the players that were drafted with the Rangers' original picks before those trades, Nikita Alexeyev and Oleg Saprikin. Like that 99 draft. If there was ever a draft to just stay put, it was the 99 draft, because aside from the Sedin twins, there was like 6 rounds of almost nothing.
That draft is truly amazing, as you just said. That's you took the words right out of my mouth and I started talking. So I'm going to stop now, guys. And Steven, let me go back right back to you on what is your exact overlook when you're looking at the 2023 NHL Draft.
Well, everyone knows Bedard's going to go number 1. And after that, Fantilli is pretty much the consensus number 2, like we saw in 2015 with McDavid and Eichel. But after that, that's where the current events are going to play a possible factor. How comfortable are teams going with Matvei Michkov, who is a Russian kid? He's under contract for 3 more years. The current situation with Russia may also be a factor. You never know. And then on the other hand, the recent events, you have a guy like Matthew Tkachuk who really put a stamp on the postseason, even though he didn't win the Stanley Cup with the Florida Panthers. How much are teams going to value that kind of postseason dominance that Matthew Tkachuk showed? Ryan Leonard is a guy who might have the intangibles to help you more in the postseason than in the regular season. If a team is already kind of set up, they already have a top 6, maybe Ryan Leonard is the guy that they go for to give them a different type of player. Maybe there's a team that reaches for Ryan Leonard. We see it every year. Moritz Seider in 2019 went 5th overall, and nobody was expecting that. So
6th.
Or 6th, sorry.
Yeah.
Nobody was expecting that. I was at the draft in Vancouver. People were talking about him going like between 15 and 20, maybe the top half of like 10 to 20 range. Nobody expected him to go sixth overall. So after the top 3, top 4, that's where it gets really interesting with guys like Will Smith, Dalibor Dvorsky, David Reinbacher from Austria, who's a defenseman, probably going to be the first defenseman drafted this year. And to me, this is where we might see also a little bit of the COVID effect. A lot of these players at age 15, 16 had their seasons either cut short or eliminated completely because of the pandemic a couple of years ago. So guys that may not seem that exciting now and maybe go late in the first round in 5-6 years, they might be in a redraft like top 10 in their draft.
And also the scouting. Now we're going to really see the effect on that too, because there was limited scouting at that time.
And that's another thing. I'll go back to you mentioned the scouting. It was hard for a lot of people to watch Michkov. I mean, with the climate in Russia right now, a lot of scouts didn't want to go over there, and a lot of the KHL's video, that's all copyrighted. So it was very hard to watch Matvei Michkov. So that's part of the reason why people think that he might fall the way that he might. I'm not sure about that, but that is some of the reasoning that I've heard.
Yeah. But then again, I think a lot of people saw all they needed to do in his brief stint with the World Juniors when it was over here before all hell broke loose.
And it also depends on who's drafting where, right? So you have the Chicago Blackhawks 1, Anaheim Ducks 2, and then the Columbus Blue Jackets at 3. The Blue Jackets a couple of years ago had no problem drafting Yegor Shinnikov, who that draft pick caused one of the most hilarious moments on TV because no one in the studio had anything on the guy. They were flipping through their notes and they couldn't even find the guy's name in their notes. The guy was never supposed to be a first-round pick, but Columbus felt comfortable enough to go for the guy, even though it was like a late first-round pick. They felt comfortable enough. So that might be a team at 3 that wants to take that risk. The other team I'm pretty confident that they have no problem taking him is the Montreal Canadiens at 5 because they have Nikolai Bobrov as their head of European scouting. He was with the Rangers before. That's a team that I don't see passing up on Michkov. So if Michkov is there at 5, that's probably where he goes.
And we talked about our main show that he's not going to drop past 6 because if he goes to the Coyotes, he's definitely going there. Damn, I had a lead-in question to ask you, Phil, and I just totally forgot about it. So just take it. Oh, actually, one quick thing. Apologies to everybody from LA that might be watching this. Will Smith will not fall to you. He will not be living with his auntie and uncle in Bel Air. Phil, it was a low-hanging fruit.
I mean, all I could do is just shake my head. I didn't know where you were going by saying Philk afterwards. Like, did you want me to start rapping or something?
But Mark,
what was I supposed to do there?
If he goes to the Flyers, does that count as him being raised in West Philadelphia?
West Philadelphia, born and raised. All right, I'm going real red on this.
I'm just happy Mark was able to properly pronounce Will Smith.
Yeah.
Well, Justin Smith wasn't available.
That one up, I think I would boot him from the stream.
Yeah. If you mess up a name like Will Smith, it's over.
Considering it is the first syllable of my last name.
Could you imagine if Mark actually called him Jaden Smith on accident?
Jaden Smith. I wouldn't put it past you, Mark.
Yeah. Phil, so what are your thoughts on the 2023 NHL draft before we get into the mock?
This is one of the most loaded drafts in quite some time. I think there's quality players up and down that first round. It's really going to have to take a monumental mistake scouting-wise, or the Rangers doing a Gordy Clark and doing the whole smartest man in the room BS nonsense again, something like that, to not come out with a good player from this draft. So I do think that this is just a great. It's great that the Rangers have a pick in this first round. And like I said, Steven mentioned it before. Rangers aren't afraid to trade up when they know that their guy is there. So if they see that their guy is there, I could definitely see a move. I just wonder how high up they will go to get that guy.
The other question would be whether or not it's like the right guy to go get. I mean, or if another team is possibly going to draft them. It's the reason why they went after Braden Schneider. They thought he was going to fall to New Jersey, and they were going to get him.
Yeah, and it's the same with Keandre Miller in 2018. You had Anaheim and Minnesota drafting right before us. Both teams that are known for drafting and developing their own defensive cores. Mm-hmm. So it made sense for the Rangers to trade up to 22 and get him. I think that was a good move. They really made the right move there.
Yeah.
I think they made the right move with Schneider in 2020.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Let's get it started with the NHL mock draft. Phil, I'm going to start with you. I think your pick might be a little bit of a reach at number 1. So maybe you're the smartest man in the room on this one. Who is going number 1 to the Chicago Blackhawks?
Bedard, Connor Bedard. I mean, come on, really? Yeah, it's Bedard. It's like, just stop. This is just like 2015 where they tried to make the controversy where, maybe Edmonton could take Jack Eichel first. We're going to big brain this. No, that's not going to happen. Bedard's going number 1 overall. He's probably the best shooter I've ever seen at that age. His shot is top of the NHL level already. That's how good of a shooter he is. He may end up being one of the best shooters to ever play this game. That's how good his shot is. His technique is flawless. His hand placement is ridiculous. The fact that he's 5'9 3/4, because that's what he actually measures out, but they round him up to 5'10. 5'9 3/4. He weighs less than 190 pounds, and he can get that type of velocity that quickly on his shot. Never seen anything like it before. I've never seen someone who could shoot like that at that size. So, I mean, it's just the hands are incredible. He's an absolute dynamo offensively. I know he's not the skater that Connor McDavid is, but this guy is I would say if Connor McDavid is generational and no one else is, this is probably the closest we're going to see in the draft for a while, the generational. Over 2.5 points per game to CHL. The only other there's 3 other players that have scored over 2.5 points in a CHL draft eligible season. And I mean, Steven probably knows who they are, but Marc, I'm wondering if you could guess who they are.
I know Peter Nedved's one of them.
No, I was going with McDavid is one of them.
McDavid is one of them. I mean, I would say, in the last 20 years. Sorry.
Okay.
Phrase it that way.
All right. So it's McDavid. Which hockey league did you say it was?
It's OHL? So it's the CHL, the OHL, the WHL, and the QMJHL.
Okay, so it's all of them.
Yeah.
Okay, so Sidney Crosby.
Yeah. You got 2 of them.
Nate McKinnon.
Nope.
Okay.
Is it Dylan Strome? Because he had a ridiculous.
No, he had a great 2015, but no, it was not him.
Is it a draft bust? That's what I would ask.
No, it's actually.
He's still very good. Steven Stamkos.
No.
Oh, I was ready to bet the farm on that one.
Is the guy still playing? He's still playing.
Yes, he's still playing.
John Tavares.
No, not Tavares.
Is he at the end of it? Is he at the end of his career?
No, I think he's got a few good years left.
Okay.
One more, I'm missing it.
Which of the 3 leagues is it?
OHL.
OHL.
I'm gonna tap out so we can get going. See if
Tavares? No,
I tried it.
It's actually Patrick Kane. Funny enough, the Chicago Blackhawk.
Okay.
Yeah.
Of course.
Qwerty actually came in literally right before I said it. So good call, Qwerty. Very good
work, Qwerty. Good work, Qwerty. All right. So by the way, Steven
was with the London Knights. Yes.
Yeah. Steven, by the way, so did you see some of those videos of the Bedard wrist shot and how much torque he puts on that stick?
Yeah, it's
Unreal.
It's unbelievable. Like if you look at guys like Bedard and you see how he releases his shot, it's a thing of beauty. Like the ultra slow-mo does it justice.
Yeah.
Like in real time, it doesn't do it justice.
No.
How amazing it is.
All right, so I'll just ask this question real quick. Is this going to be known as the Connor Bedard draft, or is there going to be a different narrative in years to come after this, guys?
It's going to be the Connor Bedard draft the same way the 2015 is the Connor McDavid draft.
I think so too. I think there's going to be some other interesting storylines, but I also think that this draft is going to be regarded as a draft, like an all-time, like great,
like
draft.
2003,
2003, 1980, 1979. Sorry, 1979, 2003. I think it's going to be up there with those drafts.
So not the 1999 draft.
very much the opposite on that one. Sorry, I was on.
We'll call it the anti-99 draft.
Yeah, but if you look at the 2015 draft, man, that's not just McDavid. You have Mitch Marner, Mikko Rantanen, Sebastian Aho in the second round. You know, Kyle Connor, Matthew Barzal, Travis Konechny, Timo Meyer, Brock Besser, Rope Hintz, who took a couple of years. Kirill Kaprizov.
Rope Hintz was tied for the playoff lead in scoring this year on a team that didn't play in the finals.
But for me, the 2015 will always be the draft where one general manager fucked up the draft
3 times. Yeah. Oh my God. How do you miss Shabbat, Connor, and Barzal? Oh my God.
Yeah. And those were the scouts that he put together in Boston, and then he went to Edmonton where he fucked up further by giving up the first round pick when they traded for who did they got? Griffin Reinhardt?
Yep.
For the 16th overall.
Griffin Reinhardt.
Which the Islanders then used to draft Matthew Barzal. So good job, Peter Chiarelli. You fucked up the draft for 2 teams in the same year. No one will ever do that again.
Steven, at least he didn't re-sign Mikko Koskinen like the day before he got fired.
I was going to ask, bigger draft mess up. Chiarelli's double whammy of failure, or Glenn Sather taking Hugh Jessamine?
Hugh Jessamine. Hugh Jessamine was not a pick.
No, I think Peter Chiarelli messing up 3 consecutive first round picks.
Yeah, I think that's really bad.
With the scouting staff he installed, and then like right after the 3 Boston picks, he trades away the Edmonton first rounder for a guy they would lose in the expansion draft 2 years later.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I mean, Peter Chiarelli and Cliff Fletcher, 2 of the all-time worst GMs.
I would love to be a fly on a wall for a draft discussion between Chiarelli and Fletcher, because the 2 of them, the amount of dumbassery that would happen, I can't even begin.
I want Mike Milbury to come out of retirement so he can negotiate with Chiarelli. I want to be a fly on the wall in a trade negotiation between Chiarelli and Milbury.
All right, Steven, we're going to go to number 2. And
comment in, so.
Hey, Musics, how's it going?
Hey, number 2, easy. Adam Fantilli. Don't overthink it. Go with the guy who everyone has at number 2. Really good skater. Attacks through the neutral zone really well. Just he was playing in college for Michigan, one of the top teams in college, and he was absolutely dominant. Some people were a little bit hesitant after the World Juniors because he wasn't really the star that Connor McDavid was, that Connor Bedard was. But no, Fantilli is an easy pick for the Anaheim Ducks. Their center depth, if they go for Fantilli, will be Zegras, McTavish, Fantilli moving forward. That's a center core that can take you to multiple Stanley Cup finals in the next 15 years.
That is a good call.
I would agree for it. I mean, you don't overthink it. you just can't. There's just such a tantalizing package. And then the way that he played in the World Championships against men. And I try not to go too crazy over that because we saw what Capo Caco did. And then the trouble that he's had adjusting. Obviously, we've beaten the dead horse on the Rangers and their development and the way that they've used them and everything like that. But I think it's different with Fantilli because I think Fantilli's going to come in right away. They're going to put him in a top 6 role. And I think he's going to succeed. He's going to have talent around him, whether it's Zegras, Terry, you name it. I mean, he's going to have talent around him, and he's going to be fine. So,
all right. So if Fantilli goes at 2, Steven, who do you have at number 3?
Or do you want
at 3? This is where I'm going to go a little crazy because everyone thinks it's going to be Leo Carlsson, but I think Columbus might be the team to go for Matvei Michkov.
Really? So
because
you think Columbus is going to take Michkov?
For multiple reasons. They don't. A couple of years ago with Shinnikov, we talked about that before. You know, they didn't shy away from that. It was a pick that surprised everyone. Elliot Friedman didn't even have notes on Shinnikov when he was drafted, so they have no problem going with the Russian kid. And also, the Columbus Blue Jackets are still 2-3 years away from even making the playoffs. If there's one team in that top 5 that can have the patience to wait 3 years for Michkov to come over, it's the Columbus Blue Jackets.
Yeah,
I do agree with you, and I do think that he may even be the best player at 2. I think that there is a considerable amount of skill. And it's very close between Fantilli and Michkov.
It is. Under normal circumstances, if there was no issue with Russia at the moment, I would see Michkov go 2nd overall to Anaheim. But Fantilli going 2nd overall to Anaheim makes too much sense with the current situation. That said, Columbus has no problem waiting those 3 years for Michkov to come over. When he comes over at age 21, he still gets a 3-year entry-level contract. And Michkov is currently in the United States. He clearly has the intention to sign in the NHL once his contract is up. He makes every effort to talk to teams, to show his face. He's in New York at the moment where the NHL headquarters is, where it's easy to talk to multiple teams at the same time. That would take away some of the concerns about Michkov and his willingness to come over.
You know what I really like about Michkov, though? There's obviously there's a Russian narrative that goes around, and they're soft European Russian players. Matvei Michkov is anything but that. Matvei Michkov actually likes to throw his weight around at times, and I think if you watch his play, it actually energizes him. To me, he plays more like Vasily Podkolzin played, but with a much higher level of talent. He's not like an Ovechkin, where he's just constantly running around, thrashing everything in his way and then sniping the lights out. But he's got a great shot. He's got great hands. He can sell deception extremely well. Just along the boards. You know who he reminds me of? Down low and along the boards in terms of protecting the puck and pivoting away and establishing body position. Alexei Sharapanov. Sharapanov was really, really good at that with Omsk and in junior competition. And Michkov knows how to get away, spin away at the right times. I love this kid's game. I really do. I think he's going to be one of the most exciting players in the NHL for a very, very long time. And you know what? I'll break, since I saw this. I've heard Michkov has had some attitude problems. Heard scouts say that he's cocky. I think that people get the idea that he's cocky because he has the confidence to go out there and pull off these insane moves on players. Like the one move where he literally faked the pass back and then went like this through the player. And like he was going to fake that pass, the D-to-D pass. You know what? He has the confidence to pull that off. And I think that's the problem that scouts, scouts, I don't know where this is coming from, how valid, but I think that's the problem they might have.
And I remember the attitude issues being brought up, I think, with Matthew Tkachuk in his draft year too. Sometimes confidence is mistaken for a bad attitude.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I really don't agree with this confidence being a bad attitude thing. I know, Mark, you wanted to ask this question.
Yes, because I want to ask this question, and you could basically lump in 3 through, I would say 6. I don't think he's going past 6, but how much of a value is Matvei Michkov, who could be a number 1 overall pick in almost any other year, at this selection?
Well, if you don't mind me taking this question first.
Go ahead.
Do you think that in hindsight, the teams drafting in 2015, if they knew how good Kaprizov was, that they would have taken him in the top 10? Would they have any confidence?
Yeah, hindsight's 2020. You definitely would have.
Of course, hindsight is 2020, but like with Kaprizov, he played in Russia for 4 years because that's just a situation it is. Russian players don't come over to make $70,000 in the AHL before tax when they can earn more money in Russia tax-free, when they can travel by plane, stay in luxurious hotels instead of taking a bus ride from Springfield to Syracuse.
Yep.
And this is my biggest issue with the AHL. The AHL, the NHL as well, by the way, the NHL has never addressed the issue of the pay on an entry-level contract when they're in the minors.
Look at Victor Wembanyama. He's going to make how much on his entry-level deal? And then you're going to have Connor Bedard, who's going to make a fraction. Not even he's going to make he's going to make a speck of that.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
Yeah, and that's for them in being in the NHL. But if you get a guy in the middle of the first round, a guy like, I don't know, Tom Wilander or something. He plays in Sweden, and he has the option to either play professional in Sweden, where he may even play in the Champions Hockey League, some continental games. You get a nice, decent salary, or you can go to North America, and then you're in the AHL earning $70K, or I think it's $85K now because it changed in the MOU a couple of years ago. The minor league salary on entry-level contracts is just not enough to persuade players from coming over to come over. It's just not enough. They need to fix this. But to go back to my point, Kaprizov spent 4 years in Russia. Tarasenko spent 3 years in Russia. Kuznetsov spent 4 years in Russia after he was drafted. Do those teams regret drafting those guys, even though they had to wait 3-4 years for them to come over? No. So the team drafting Matvei Michkov is not going to draft him for what he's going to do between now and 2026. They're drafting him for what he's going to do in his prime.
Mm-hmm.
And in 10 years, I'm pretty confident that Michkov is going to be a top 3 player in this draft, maybe even top 2.
Here's the issue. It comes down to a couple of things for me. I've said it on previous streams for us. One is, what is the differential in potential and talent between Michkov and the next player available at said pick, because that's going to be an issue. And then the other thing is depth. Prospect depth is going to play a big part in where he's picked. Because if you have a team like Arizona could have, if he falls to Arizona, Arizona's not going to pass him up. Especially when you have Dylan Guenther, Logan Cooley, Matthias Michelli, you have all these great young forward talents. They could afford to go take that risk. San Jose could probably afford to go take that risk. Would they want a center? Probably, considering their center depth is probably a little not on the great side. I mean, Logan Couture, and then who's really the big center in their system. But I mean, a team like Arizona, I can't see Arizona passing up on that. Or Montreal. Montreal has Kirby Dach and Nick Suzuki down the middle for the next 10 plus years. That's great. You don't have to take a center there. You can go take the risk on Michkov, and then you can have Michkov and Caulfield as 40 plus goal scorers, maybe even 50 in Michkov's case, going forward for the next 10 plus years. Yeah. And there you go.
And Steven, does your thinking in this also apply to the fact that they have Kent Johnson and Cole Sillinger already in place at center? So why would they need a Leo Carlson right now?
That too, but what plays into it a little bit more for me is the fact that Columbus is still a couple of years away from even making the playoffs. This team is not going to overhaul their team and turn it around in a year or two. So they have the time to wait for Michkov to come over. They're not wasting his entry level years being a bottom 5 team in the league.
No.
All right. Phil, who'd you have for Columbus?
I had them taking Leo Carlson. And the reason for that being is that I think Leo Carlson is just too good of a player to pass up here. I really do. I think that he's one of the smartest players in the draft. He's one of the smoothest players I think I've seen in a long time. Like his game reminds me of Sergei Fedorov. A lot of Sergei Fedorov. I see a lot of similarities. Sort of in the way that they move, the fluidity of their game. Fedorov didn't always make the overly flashy, dangerous pass through like 3-4 players, but he made those simple little plays to Kozlov and Larionov and Fetisov and Konstantinov and Brennan, whoever the hell he played with. He would find those little plays in space that opened up the rest of the play so he could cycle around to another area, open himself up, and then create a dangerous scoring chance. That's why that guy scored 56 goals in 1994. But I see the same things with Leo Carlson. I also see somebody who has just top-of-the-line hands and a great shot on top of that, and he can just pull moves out of nowhere. Like he's like a magician pulling like tricks out of his hat with some of these dangles that I've seen. Just incredible hands. I also think that they want a playmaker for guys like Laine and Gaudreau, and I think he fits into that. I think you could probably move somebody like Kent Johnson to the wing at that point, and he could be a successful playmaking winger. I really do think that you can do that with him. Because I think Carlson's, and I think even Leo Carlson could play wing at the NHL level if he wanted to. He does have some work to do defensively, but I think that he could succeed at either position, and that's part of why I think Columbus will take him.
All right. Since we have the discrepancy, should we just go right back to Steven for number 4?
I'll take 4.
Okay, yeah, go right ahead.
All right, so let's establish ground here. Are we going to do pick by pick and then go me, Steven, me, Steven, me, Steven?
Yeah, I was going to say do that, and then if there's any discrepancies.
Okay, so Steven, take pick. All right, so I'll put 3 for Leo Carlson then, since 3 should have been my pick then. Steven, you take 4.
Okay, so we have Carlson at 3.
Yeah, Carlson at 3. You take 4 for San Jose.
4 for San Jose.
I think I know where you're going here, but
so San Jose. I don't think San Jose is a team that goes for Michkov. For me, Michkov was going to be either Columbus or Montreal.
Okay.
So, and this is a tough one because I think both these players could be a fit for San Jose. You have Will Smith and Ryan Leonard, and it's tough for me because Will Smith has the more offensive upside. Ryan Leonard is the guy that teams might, and I mentioned this earlier before we started recording. Ryan Leonard might be the guy that teams are reaching for because of what Matthew Tkachuk did in the playoffs this year. And teams want to get that type of player because they've seen how effective it is in the postseason. And imagine a team like San Jose in a couple of years coming back up and having a guy like Ryan Leonard and doing to Vegas what Matthew Tkachuk did in those first couple of games, even though it didn't lead to wins for the Florida Panthers. You know, it's tough between those two. But I have San Jose going with Ryan Leonard at 4.
Ooh, big move.
Wow.
San Jose, Ryan Leonard, right winger, USA under 18 team. I wonder if they would actually do. My pick there would have been Will Smith, just because I think they need a center, and I think that the center position would have been too much to not take the priority over, because obviously, like quarterbacks in the NFL, centers are the premium position in the NHL. So that's why
we build up the middle in sports.
Yeah, exactly. And teams look at all the winners. They've all been strong down the middle over the last 20-something years. So I do see Ryan Leonard rising, and I think being taken higher than people expected. The good part about Ryan Leonard is that I do think that he has the ability to be a play driver at the next level. Like, teams were not sure about Matthew Tkachuk and how much of a play driver he would be. I think that's the stylistic comparison for me is Matthew Tkachuk. I also look to Marc if you want to look back a little further, but he's not a big player, but he will drive through you. He will absolutely drive through you. He has underrated hands, an underrated shot, really knows where to go to get in the right positions to score goals and make plays. I mean, his playmaking ability might be the most underrated, I think, of any player in this draft. I think people look at that physical game and they say, "Oh, this guy's not as skilled." I mean, he gets a lot of his plays and points off of hard work. But funny enough, he was actually the best of the three on that big USA U18 line with Perreault and Smith. The best defensively. He's one of the better. I think he might be the best play driver on that line. Smith is the flashiest one, but I think he might be the best play driver on that line. He knows, he really does open up a lot of offense. His board play is great. His work down low. I just think that he's the type of guy you win with. You really do. And I do see some team taking him higher than a lot of people expected.
All right. Then Montreal Canadiens at number 5.
So normally, all right. So I went Carlson at 3.
Who'd you have at 4, Phil? I'm sorry.
At 4, I had Will Smith.
Okay.
I had Will Smith at 4. But,
yeah, that's right. You just mentioned that.
Yeah. I am going to go with. It's really tough for me for this one because I'm torn between 2 players, and I could easily see Montreal being tantalized by Will Smith's talent, and just the playmaker that he is, and then you could move someone like Kirby Dach to the wing and have him as a big power winger. But I just don't think they're going to be able to pass on this point on Matvei Michkov. I think he goes 5 at that point. I just think that it's too much of an opportunity to pass up on. They can wait. They're not going to be great for another couple of years or so. They have some pieces. They don't need to rush him. And they've got a shit ton of depth.
They don't need to rush the Russian?
What's up?
They don't need to rush the Russian.
Marc. Oh, Jesus. Another one. Another one.
The best part is just watching Steven's reaction down below.
Jokes, everybody. Let's give it up for Marc and the dad jokes.
I'm disappointed he didn't mention how sweet the 3rd overall pick is for Columbus.
Oh, man. Don't give him any more ideas and enable him.
Well, if the last pick's from Finland, then that's the way you finish the Finnish draft. But it's
unless they are from the same country as Yager, and then they're just really good checkers.
Oh no! Now you've got Steven going, Marc. Look at what you've done. This is why we cannot have nice things.
All right, so
great question. Marc has not butchered any names yet.
No.
Taking a back seat, but he has absolutely killed us with puns.
Yeah.
So he butchered us with puns.
Just wait until we get to the 10 to 20 range, because
there's going to be a lot of those. So in that case, so you got Michkov going number 5, and by the way, hell of a value you're getting from Michkov at number 5.
Michkov at 5, you can't pass up. I just don't think you can.
Yeah. Steven, who do you got for the Canadians taking at number 5?
So for me, with Michkov already at 3, and Leonard at 4, I have Carlson at 5 to Montreal.
That's not a bad pick at all.
That's
if Leo Carlson fell to 5, I'd be extremely shocked. But
and this is basically the conversation we're having, right? Everyone's in agreement about 1 and 2 with Bedard and Fantilli, but then 3 to 6, like you have Carlson, Smith, Michkov, and Leonard. I can make a case for any order with these 4.
Yeah, but here's my next question though, because now we're kind of leaving this out there. If Carlson's available at 6, do the Coyotes go for him? They got a lot of center depth.
If Carlson's available at 6?
Yeah. If Carlson's available at 6, you take him.
Carlson's available at 6, you take him and you run. You run away. You steal him from the arena and you run away so that they can't take him.
Because I lost the light. Because after all, they did run away from Shane Wright last year. So that's just one of the things to consider.
Shane Wright also stared down the Montreal Canadiens, which is
one. Yeah, look, I don't necessarily think for the New Jersey Devils and the Arizona Coyotes, Shane Wright was ever an option, because they were all expecting him to go first overall to Montreal. People were talking about last year's draft as it being a Shane Wright draft for like 2 years. Mm-hmm. Everyone expected him to go first overall. So when they went with Slafkovsky, that threw everyone for a loop. The New Jersey Devils were already committed to Seaman Nemec, and the Arizona Coyotes were already committed to Logan Cooley. Then they're not going to change their minds at the last second because the Montreal Canadiens decide to draft someone other than Shane Wright. So for Shane Wright, if he wasn't getting drafted first, he was always going fourth.
So if anybody's day drinking today, this is actually a really fun exercise if we really want to partake in this. Just actually a shot every time Marc mispronounces a name, we'd all be dead.
I'm actually going to be at a hotel room in Nashville on Wednesday to start the draft with everybody. But usually the deal is I drink for every trade and I drink anytime I mispronounce a name. So yes, that's exactly what the rule is.
So if you're wondering how Marc has not gotten alcohol poisoning and died, I mean, just know that you're not alone in wondering that, because I too wonder how he's not dead.
All right. So then who are the Coyotes taking at 6? Steven, I think it's your pick.
Oh, it's Phil's pick.
No.
Phil just did the Canadians.
I'm odd. You're even.
Oh, okay. Okay, I need to go after my notes to see who we already picked here.
So the picks so far, Steven, are 1 obvious, 2 obvious, 3. I took Leo Carlson. 4 is Ryan Leonard. You took 5 Michkov, and now you.
Okay,
then 4 with 6, Will Smith in his.
Then at 6, the obvious one is Will Smith. That's
okay.
That's the guy the Arizona Coyotes are going to go for. When you get a guy like that at 6, like we said it with Fantilli, you don't overthink it. Yeah, you may have the depth already at that position, but you don't go for position when a guy like Will Smith is available at 6.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I do think that if this ends up being if he's available at 6, you run away with him. You absolutely just run away. I think he's incredible. I think he's going to be like a Trevor Zegras type player is what I see when I watch him. Just incredible playmaker. Has a great shot too. Really does. Zegras has a good shot. Not a great one. A very good one, but not a great one. I think Will Smith's got a great shot. Yeah. I think Will Smith also has ridiculous breakaway speed. Like when he wants to really turn the motor on, he can break away and he can cut through defenders. He's great in traffic. I really think that he's going to be one of the top playmakers in the league for a very, very, very long time.
And what's really enticing here for the Arizona Coyotes, if it falls this way, they're getting a player who's fun to watch. Like this is a guy that people buy tickets for to watch. He's one of the most gifted puck handling players in this draft class.
My 6 would have been at this point. So I had Mitch Cobb at 5. I had Smith at 4. My 6, you know what? It came down to a couple of things for me. I looked at David Reinbacher, and I've kind of been up and down on him. Like, I wonder if he turns into a legitimate top pairing defenseman, or if he's just like somewhere in the top 4. Like, I don't think he's a 4. I think he's anywhere between a 1 and a 3. I think the package is there. I wonder how his offense translates at the NHL level. But then again, I said the same exact thing about Moritz Seider, and Moritz Seider ended up becoming a real good offensive defenseman because he fixed quite a few things in his decision-making process. I honestly think, though, that this one is really, really tough. But I'm going to go Zach Benson there at 6 for me.
Really?
For Zach Benson for me, I think that Arizona's going to look at him and they're going to say that this guy is just an incredible playmaker. You've got 2 incredible goal scorers in Gunther and Cooley, and you get to add Zach Benson to that, who I think could be one of the better playmakers in the league for a very long time. Not only that, but has an incredible motor. And he's probably the most tenacious forechecker, I think, and defender that I've seen. I think Zach Benson's ceiling is probably a 70-plus point Selke caliber player. Probably 25 goals or so, but 70-plus point Selke caliber player. That would have been my pick at 6.
Uh-huh.
You don't think that's a little bit of a reach to take him that high?
No, I don't. Some people might say that. I personally don't think that. I think that he's just that talented. I think that teams are going to look at the speed that Vegas attacked with. It's copycat league, as we referenced. I think that teams will look at that and they'll see that type of player and that elite playmaking ability. Look at Jonathan Marchessault. Look at what he did in the playoffs. Look at how many teams passed over him, including the New York Rangers. Again.
I have to correct you there, actually.
He didn't want to be there, I think, because he didn't think they were going to give him a chance. But but
the Rangers were the first team to offer him an entry-level contract, and he preferred to sign with Columbus because he didn't think he'd have a chance making our team on the 4th line because we had Boyle, Dorsett, and Dominic Moore.
Yeah. And that ended up, fighting the Rangers. But, Marchessault is somebody, like, I think of Marchessault, but as a center in the way that Benson plays. Like, very tenacious forechecker, very fast, all over the place. Benson, another thing that Benson does very, very well for me, and I don't think I've seen anybody do this as well as he has probably since Adam Fox, but he sells deception so well. He really does. Like the little fakes he gets players to make that first move. But the difference between someone like him and Fox is that he's like an actual higher level skater. So when Fox can't get himself out of those situations where they don't bite on that move, Benson can make those extremely fast and hard cuts and just leave a player in the corner. And he can draw multiple players to him and then find that open pass. So I love that about him. I think he's going higher than people will take. Dalibor Dvorsky was somebody that I actually flirted with at that. But I really wonder about his ceiling. He has probably the highest floor of anybody in this draft. But I wonder about his ceiling.
All right, so we're going back to the odds. So, Steven, who do you have for the Flyers taking number 7?
The odds me.
Oh, the odds you? Sorry.
Yeah.
Phil, I have 2 things to remember, and I messed it up.
Who do you write down for the Coyotes then?
So for the Coyotes, it's your pick. So it's your pick that comes there.
So that's Will Smith then.
It was Will Smith.
Yeah. So we're going Will Smith there. So Mark, don't flash the. I'll take care of that.
Yeah, I know. Once you started doing that, I have a second one, so that way I got both your picks.
Mark,
So,
I agree with Phil. Please don't flash.
Yeah, please don't flash. Yeah,
there's no flashing.
There is no flashing, but yeah, don't change the banner. I'll do it. I'll handle it.
So okay, John Tolkowski is on the clock.
Yeah, so I'm on the clock now at 7 for Philly, and Steven took Ryan Leonard at 4. That would have been the pick that I would have had for Philly at 7. I would have had him right there. Man, there are a lot of good players available at this pick. I got to go with David Reinbacher here. I got to go with David Reinbacher. I just think that he's obviously the best defenseman in this draft. I think Philadelphia needs help on defense. I think that they would love a big, mobile, rangy defender, especially after they traded away Ivan Provorov. It almost makes too much sense to me to take a guy that you think you could build your defense around. And the scouting reports, again, like I said before, they differ on him. Whether or not he can be number 1 or is he a top 4, I believe he's somewhere between a 2 and a 3. But there is definitely potential to tweak a few things, and he could turn into a number 1 guy. The skating is great for a guy his size. He's got a really good shot. He knows when to jump into the play offensively and get that backdoor pass, which is big because defenders getting that trailer or that backdoor pass is huge. That helps create offense, obviously goals, but it also helps keep play alive at sometimes. And that's another thing he's really good at. He knows when to step up and keep the play alive. He makes the smart play. And he's actually handled himself very well in the Swiss League against men, which is something that I think that Philadelphia is going to want right off the bat. They're going to want a defenseman to be able to come in and step in and get minutes. And I think he may be able to handle significant minutes in the NHL right away. So I could see Philadelphia taking David Reinbacher at 7.
Steven.
Yeah, I agree with Phil there. Reinbacher makes a lot of sense for the Philadelphia Flyers. You know, it's as you said, they're trading some defensemen away. I think it's not confirmed yet, but there's talk about Sanheim
being in that deal to St. Louis.
In that deal to St. Louis, yeah, and they're waiting for Torrey Krug, who doesn't want to waive his no trade clause to go to Philly, so they're trying to work on a separate deal to get like Krug, I think, to New Jersey, whatever. But yeah, they got rid of Provorov. They're looking to move Sanheim. Reinbacher, like Moritz Seider in Detroit, is a guy you build your defense around. I think that's a really good pick for the Flyers.
There has been some consensus that he's the number 1 rated defenseman in this draft, but in another years he wouldn't be. What do you think about that, Steven? Is that like a hindrance, or is that or maybe just luck of the draw? He's just the best defenseman right now.
I think compared to some other draft years in recent history, the depth just isn't there when it comes to defensemen in the first round. You don't have clear-cut guys like in 2019. Who did the Anaheim Ducks draft again? What's his name? Jamie Drysdale.
No, that was 2020.
Or 2020. Sorry, yeah. Jamie Drysdale.
Yeah.
2019 they got Zegras. Jamie Drysdale, top 10 pick. Everyone was talking about that.
I believe in number 6.
Yeah, in this draft, you have Reinbacher and then Axel Sandin Pellikka from Sweden, who are probably the 2 best defensemen in this draft class, but they can go anywhere from like 7 to 17.
Yeah, I've seen Sandin Pellikka mocked all over the place too.
Yeah, there's no big amount of defensemen in the first round. It's very forward heavy this year. And by the way, I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. You may not get a Moritz Seider upside type player, even though nobody expected Moritz Seider to be that at the draft in 2019. But Reinbacher, look, if you're drafting 7th or 8th overall, and he's there, and he's the type of guy that you need in your prospect pool because even though people always go BPA, 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 you can still draft for position if you have like 4 or 5 players that you think are in the same tier, so to speak.
Yeah, and it's very close.
If they're close enough, you can definitely go for position. And I think the Philadelphia Flyers, if they feel Reinbacher is in the same tier as Dvorsky and Gabe Perreault and Matthew Wood and Colby Barlow and Zach Benson, then yeah, it makes sense for the Flyers to go for Reinbacher there.
Thank you for explaining my logic on Svechkov over Offman in 2021. That was literally my logic because they needed the center and they took another winger, but it was still very close and they could have taken need at that point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like BPA, best player available, is not on a 1-for-1 basis.
No.
At the top of the draft, yes. Like best player available, number 1 is Connor Bedard. Best player number 2 is Adam Fantilli. But the tier we were talking about earlier, from 3, 4, 5 to 6, you could argue that that's a tier in which you can go for positional need. And later in the draft, you have that too. You have different tiers, and if you feel more comfortable drafting a defenseman because you need one, like the Rangers, honestly, what the Rangers need in their prospect pools are right-handed defensemen.
Mm-hmm.
Like if the Rangers, we'll get to that at 23, but if the Rangers at 23 have like 5 players to choose from, and one of them is a right-handed defenseman, there's no harm in going for the player that you need in your prospect pool. It's BPA is not a 1-for-1 exact science.
No, it's not. I agree.
And Phil, who'd you have at number 7 again?
Well, for 7, I had Reinbacher. That was my pick.
That was his pick, and I agreed with him. So we didn't really.
Oh wow! All right.
Yeah,
anything else to talk about? Yeah.
Steven, this is your pick, number 8.
So, considering the players that have already been picked, this kind of is in line with what you mentioned about this player earlier, Phil. Zach Benson makes sense for me to go to the Capitals. The Washington Capitals are going through a rebuild in the next couple of years. Ovechkin is close to 40. Backstrom is, if he has any NHL.
Wait, did you take Benson at? Wait, who did Benson go at? Who did you take at 6, Steven?
You took Benson to go to the Coyotes.
No.
I had 6.
No, we had Smith going to the Coyotes.
Smith, yeah. So
yeah, you took Benson.
Yeah. All right. So So yeah, Smith. Let me update that. Sorry.
Yeah. No worries. By the way, Benson playing for the Winnipeg Ice, which no longer exists because that team moved to Wenatchee in the state of Washington.
All right.
In the WHL, the state of Washington now has 5 major junior hockey teams.
So do you imagine that being a hub soon for hockey to come out of North America? That suddenly we're going to have the state of Washington.
Well, it already was a little bit, but it kind of backs up the decision to put the Seattle Kraken there, to put the Kraken there in Seattle. The Pacific Northwest, it was the perfect location for an expansion team. Considering everyone else that's already been taken, I have Zach Benson going to the Washington Capitals.
Okay. Phil,
this is where it gets a bit interesting because we're not going to have a lot of the same picks here, so we'll just have to see which players are still available because we're doing like a sheriff mock now.
Yeah. All right. So Bedard, Fantilli, Carlson, Smith, Mitchkov, Leonard, Reinbacher, Benson.
Not related to Brett Berard, Marc.
Yeah. Let's see here. There's a few players that I could take in this spot if I'm Washington, but I wonder with their centers getting older if they go with one of 2 players for me. Actually, I you know what? I could put in a 3rd player there. I'm actually torn between Dvorsky, Moore, and Yeager. And I know that it seems a little high for Yeager and maybe even a little high for Moore. But again, I wonder about Dvorsky's ceiling. I do. And I know that a lot of people had him like 5, 6, maybe even 7. And this might be dropping a little bit. You know what? I think I'm going to stop the fall for Dvorsky there. Mine will go Dvorsky there because I don't think they pass on him, Washington. So I'll update that with Dvorsky for me because I think that there just needs to be some work with him in terms of certain aspects of his play. But I do think that if everything is fine-tuned properly, he's a top 6 center. I don't know if he's necessarily a first liner, but I do think that his shot is one of the better shots in this draft. And it would be one of the best shots in any other draft that didn't have Connor Bedard and Matvei Michkov in it. So,
Steven, who do you think?
He took Benson.
Oh, that's right. He took Benson. No.
Yeah, this is getting very confusing. If you're going to ask me for the same pick twice.
No.
I think we should stop asking my pick afterwards.
Yeah, so let's just stick to one person doing a pick.
Yeah, Marc.
Okay, all right.
A little too much here, Marc. Sorry.
Yeah.
Because
we're already an hour in. We're at pick number 9.
Yeah. You know what? We're gonna have to speed this up, and I think my brain shorted out right there too, guys.
Yeah.
There's amount of draft capital knowledge that's being thrown down right now, so I appreciate all of this.
Yeah,
that's where I'm learning about everybody.
So this way that we know what players are available because it makes it a lot easier that way. So I had 7, Steven had 8, and now 9 is the Detroit Red Wings. Oof. Wow. There's a lot of good picks here at 9. Really, really good players. I gotta go Gabe Perreault. I think they take Perreault at 9. If this unfolds the way that it does, I would say Perreault would probably be my guy. I would be tempted to take Matthew Wood if I were them, but I think that you're looking at a guy like Perreault, who I think is going to be one of the better natural scorers in the league. I know that he has to do work on his skating and his strength. That's fine. He's a little undersized, but he's got a good hockey lineage. His father was a very smart player. Also one of the best face-off men in the league for a very long time. And I just think that I think it's too much to pass up. And we were talking about, I think, Steven, did you bring up David Perron's name before? Was it you that said that?
David Perron? No.
I thought you said Perron.
Now that Phil's talking about it, I think I heard David Perron somewhere. I just don't remember.
I thought I heard Perron somewhere. I could be wrong. But that's a comparison that a lot of people have drawn for Gabe Perreault is David Perron. And funny enough, David Perron plays for the Red Wings. So, I could definitely see Gabriel Perreault going there.
Okay. Over Dalibor Dvorsky.
Because Dvorsky went to the Capitals in this draft.
No. Steven took Benson at 8.
So this is where the confusion sets in because you asked both of us every time. It gets very confusing.
We can't do that. We can't.
This is the Marc factor.
See, this is why I stopped talking because I realized I probably screwed up.
Yeah. So let's no more of that. All right. So Steven, that is you at number 10.
Okay. Then at number 10, I'll take Dalibor Dvorsky to St. Louis.
All right. That is definitely a really good pick there. If he falls to 10, I would be shocked if he fell out of the top 10. But if he falls to 10, there is definitely no way that St. Louis, after losing Ryan O'Reilly, is not taking him. So
and He would also look really good for the Detroit Red Wings, a team known for scouting very deep and very intense in Sweden, where he plays.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I definitely agree with that. Again, one of the better shots in the draft. I think he's going to be a very good two-way player. I just wonder about the ceiling. I wonder if he's a middle six center or if he's a top six center. And that's what it comes down to. Skating, it's pretty good for a guy his size, and he's actually got better hands than people think. He might have the best hand-eye coordination of any player in this draft. So that's another thing. We're going to go to 11. So 11 is the Vancouver Canucks. There's some real good players available here. I know I feel like I'm saying that every damn time, but it is true. I am torn between two players right now. I'm torn between Oliver Moore and Matthew Wood. And I'm probably going to have Vancouver take Matthew Wood because I just think that they could use a big scoring winger. And I think he fits that mold perfectly. You're good at center with JT Miller and Elias Pettersson. I don't think they take another defenseman here. I definitely think that Matthew Wood would fit perfectly in with that offense there and give them some size and skill that they need on the wings. And I mean, you got Andrei Kuzmenko, who had a hell of a first year in the NHL. I love what they have going there going forward, and I think Matthew Wood just fits in perfectly.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Then number 12, we have Arizona again with their second pick in the draft. I have them then going for Axel Sandin Pellikka. They already have Logan Cooley. They drafted. Who do we have him draft at 6?
At 6, they took Smith.
Will Smith. So Axel Sandin Pellikka gives them a high upside defenseman. If there's one thing the Arizona Coyotes need in their prospect pool and their team in general, it's a good puck moving defenseman. So 5'11", 181 pounds, right-handed defenseman out of Sweden. It's going to be a bit confusing for fans because it's Sandin Pellikka then and Rasmus Sandin. But still not as confusing as Elias Pettersson and Elias Pettersson on the same team.
Yes, that is true too. That's where you walk up to somebody and go, I know what your name is. You've had it your entire life. We have to change your name. You can't be.
I think that's a Canucks thing because in the late 80s, they had two players named Greg Moore, and they both scored in the same game against the LA Kings. All
right, nice. And by the way, just since everybody's waiting for it, Axel Sandin Pellikka. Did I roll the L's enough?
No. You got it right. The Americanized version he got right. I mean,
I'm shocked. I'm shocked, to be honest, that he got that one right.
The pronunciation's right there, so I don't have to worry about that.
I thought that was going to be the one where he was gonna mess up.
No, I didn't. I thought he would mess up maybe Dvorsky. Maybe that one he would mess up.
Dvorsky is too close to Dvorak and also Paul Dvorsky. So I mean, that's an easy one to get.
Have you ever been married before, Mark?
No.
Okay, because then you would know how to pronounce divorce.
No, well, fortunately, I know lots of friends that have made that possible. All right,
Dvorsky is not making it to 10. Okay.
Thank you very much, Jennifer. Welcome to the show, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that. All right, so at 13, we have the Buffalo Sabres. I've seen him mocked higher than this. I've seen some people say kind of like the Ryan Leonard thing. I'm gonna go with Colby Barlow here. I just think that they could use a big rugged winger. And Colby Barlow kind of fits into that. I've seen some people saying Washington could take him at 8 just because they would love to have a Tom Wilson-like player playing with Tom Wilson at the same time. Because, I mean, that would be all sorts of chaos. But I think Colby Barlow would actually be a really good pick there. I think he does a lot of things that Buffalo needs. Big, physical, rugged winger, can score goals. I like his game. I think that he adds an element that Buffalo lacks. So I do think that this could be a really good pick here.
Okay.
Okay, number 14.
Pittsburgh.
Number 14, Pittsburgh. You're going to hate this, Phil. You're going to hate this. Oliver Moore.
Oh, yeah. That's – oof, man, that speed in that lineup, that's something that they could use, especially with Malkin and Crosby getting older.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely could use that. Yeah, I could see it. Probably the fastest skater in the draft. I don't know if there's really anybody close to him in that regard, but another one of the gems of the USA under 18 program.
Yeah, the NTDP the last 10 years has been a factory of quality players. It's been,
and then the Rangers just took one of those guys that's been working with them. Good job, Chris Drury.
Dan Muse, who kind of looks like the guy who started the coup attempt in Russia, but that's something unrelated.
Oh my God! Wow, did not expect.
Nice job, Steven. You just got him canceled.
But no, Dan Muse, I'm very happy with that hire. Not to get too much off topic here, but the assistant coaches and the associate head coach in Phil Housley, Pekka, and Muse love the team they put together.
Love it.
Great configuration with a mix of veterans in Laviolette and Housley and new kids in Muse and Pekka who definitely have head coaching potential in the NHL.
And Housley's worked with the young kids before too. He was with Team USA for a while. So
not just that, but when Housley was the assistant coach in Nashville, that's when guys like Yossi and Ekholm and Ellis came through.
Yep.
And then he did a similar thing in Arizona with Jacob Chikrin, who, if it wasn't for his injury, would have been a 70, 80-point player his first full season. So I'm looking forward to seeing Adam Fox working with Phil Housley.
That's what I said the other day on Twitter. I said, if you're not excited at the thought of Adam Fox and Keandre Miller working with Phil Housley.
And Zach Jones, maybe. And
not only that, but
Brady Schneider.
Zibanejad, Trocheck, and Philip Hebel working with Michael Pekka, 2-time Selke winner.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's exciting to me.
Yeah.
So,
and also it's funny because we could talk about Adam Fox reaching another level, and he very well might win the Norris this year. So that could be another potential one.
It would be nice.
All right, moving on to number 15.
Nashville Predators. So
the first pick for Barry Trotz.
Yeah, Barry Trotz's very first pick.
Do you think he'll actually hold the scouts to try to take swings, as he said before?
That's what I'm wondering. So there's a couple of different guys that I'm looking at right now. I look at, because they just traded away Ryan Johansson, Matt Duchene, and then where's their center depth after that? So I look at Braden Yeager and Nate Danielson. I think that Samuel Honzek, if they were better off at center, could actually be a good pick there. But I also wonder if they would take a risk on someone like Otto Stenberg. I really do. You know what, though? I think they go a little safer. I think they take Braden Yeager because I think he's too good of a player to pass up here. I think that's the guy. For something tells me that when you have your first pick, you don't want to completely overthink it, but he's too good of a player. He could have gone even higher in this draft if you ask me. I'm high on him, but I think Nashville it's just too much to pass up on him there. So I have Braden Yeager at 15.
All right. Now to number 16, the Calgary Flames. Steven?
Yeah, Calgary Flames. What are the Calgary Flames doing, man? I don't think anyone knows.
I mean, it seems like more people are jumping off the ship than the Titanic.
Oof.
Yeah.
Oof.
It's
Marc.
That's the first Titanic joke in a while that I haven't heard yet this week.
Oof. Oof.
But yeah, for Calgary, they could go in any direction. They could go with a defenseman, they can go with a winger, they can go with a center. They basically need everything. Someone tweeted the other day that since 2018, only one of their draftees has played in the NHL.
Ooh.
That's not good. That's 5 years ago now.
Yeah, it's just terrible. And I think it's who's the guy who Daryl Sutter couldn't mention by name.
Yeah, what was the deal with that?
He's like, Peltier. He's like, yeah, you mean number 49? I forget his name. Like on the night he made his NHL debut. How do you forget that? It's anyway.
Terrible.
So yeah, I have a little bit of a reach here for Calgary with Edouard Salé from the Czech Republic. Plays for Cometa Brno. Was ranked a lot higher at the start of the season. Has dropped during the season, but we've seen it in the past where in rankings players drop and scouts just hold on to those players. And I think Edouard Salé is the guy that may need a couple of years to really fill out his frame and struggles a little bit at pro level in the Czech Republic. His body isn't ready for it yet, but the talent is there. So I have him going to Calgary at 16.
All right. Edouard Salé. I mean, it's funny. He's one of the most polarizing figures in this draft. I would say aside from Matvei Michkov, he's probably the most polarizing of all of them. And the drop that he had is just bad. He dropped so far in everybody's lists. But there's a lot of talent there. There really is. It's sad.
It's the same with Andrew Kristoff of the Kelowna Rockets. He's also a player that could go outside the top 10, could go anywhere. He could be a second-round pick.
Yeah, I've seen mocks there. He's not even in the first round. So
yeah.
Detroit Red Wings at number 17. This pick is from the New York Islanders. I mean, you kind of just opened things up for Detroit. So, I mean, there's three guys that I look at right away. Actually, I wonder if they would take another big European defenseman, considering they've got Moritz Seider and Simon Edvinsson. God forbid if they were ever a pairing, they'd be called the Twin Towers because they're so damn large, the two of them. Both of them are 6'5"? Both of them? Just unreal. But, I mean, they could take Tom Willander. I don't know. I don't think they will, but I think that is possible.
Oh, that's going to be very confusing because they already have a defenseman named Wallinder, and this one is named Willander.
Yeah. Oh God. Can you imagine Sam Rosen when Detroit comes into town?
Can you imagine if they pair them? If they pair them together, Sam Rosen is going to have a stroke.
Yeah, I think that he would have a stroke. I would love to watch Marc watching Sam Rosen trying to have the two of them because I think Marc would also have a stroke.
But
eventually, I would just change one's name and just use their first name as it. They're like, there's Sam, there's Willander.
Well, luckily for you, they don't have the same first name.
That would be it.
I mean, so Detroit, we had them previously taking Gabe Perreault, so that's another winger. So I'm gonna that would eliminate Samuel Hanzek for me, which was someone that I thought that they could take at that pick. Makes a ton of sense. I think they go Nate Danielson there, and that for me is it just makes a lot of sense. That kid is a Swiss Army knife. Connor Bedard actually said that he was the toughest player he played against in junior hockey. So for me, I think that's the type of player Detroit needs. I think that could be a good number two center. If Dylan Larkin stays long term, that could be their number two center. Maybe he takes over as a number one day if he hits his ceiling. Who knows? But I do like him at 17. Moving
All
on to
right.
18, and that's Steven's pick.
All right. So at the Winnipeg Jets, I have them go with Honzek.
You have Honzek there. Okay.
Yeah.
You know what? It makes sense. The potential word of buying out team captain Blake Wheeler.
Yeah. They're looking to trade Marc Scheifele. That team is going for a whole overhaul. It's
not only that, but he's right. He's somewhat close to their backyard. I mean, Vancouver and Winnipeg still a little far, but I mean, it's a player that they probably have decent access to.
Yeah.
He's a big guy. They love their big center, their big players. So I mean, look at the guys in their team. Winnipeg for the last close to 5-10 years, it's been one of the bigger teams in the league. I mean, you've had Bufflin, you've had Wheeler, you've had Scheifele, you've had Lowry. They love players with size and skill, and Honzek is that. The only worry for me about Honzek is he a complimentary player on a line, or can he actually be a play driver? And that's my biggest question with him.
Yeah.
So I do like that pick there, though. 18, that's value for him, if you ask me. So 19, this is Chicago from Tampa Bay. This is their second pick of the first round. Obviously, Connor Bedard being number one.
Mm-hmm.
This is where you could afford to take a risk. I was thinking Willander. I'm not going to go with him, though. I think you might like this pick. Dmitry Simashev, Yaroslavl. I just think that there's the package with him is really tantalizing. It really is. I mean, he's got size. He moves well. Good with the puck. I think there's some work that needs to be done with his defense. Not overly physical, but doesn't shy away from it either. I think Chicago can use a defenseman like that. So I have them taking him at 19. It was between him and Willander for me. So yeah, I'm gonna take that one. I'm gonna take the leadership there. And 20 is you, my friend.
The Seattle Kraken. For the Seattle Kraken, I have them go with Andrew Cristall of the Kelowna Rockets.
Ooh, okay. Andrew Cristall of the Kelowna Rockets there. That's actually a good one. He actually trained, funny enough, with Connor Bedard.
Yes. And as I said earlier, he's very polarizing. He could go as high as 15, in my opinion. And he could fall out of the first round entirely, as we've seen in the past with a couple of players who were expected to go first round. Arthur Kaliev in 2019 is a good example. Everyone expected him to go in the first round. Was it last year in the NFL draft, this quarterback that fell out of the first round, and then the following day he didn't show up because his girlfriend only brought one dress?
I don't remember hearing about it. That's great.
It's like Kentucky or something.
Yeah, it was the guy from Kentucky. I'm trying to think of his name right now.
Yeah. If someone listening remembers his name, but yeah, they didn't show up for day 2 because his girlfriend only bought one dress. Talk about arrogance.
Oh, Will Levis, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's the one. But yeah, Cristall, like I said, could drop out of the first round, but the Seattle Kraken have been very comfortable drafting out of major juniors. They have a lot of ties there. Cristall is a guy that they could definitely use. They don't have any glaring weaknesses at center or even at wing, but you want to go. I think the Seattle Kraken are in a position where they can afford to go for a guy that has high upside.
Okay.
That's right, even at 20.
All right, so that moves us to the Minnesota Wild at 21.
I had Nate Danielson going to Detroit before. So the next center that I think is available, because I think they're taking a center. I think they're taking Callum Ritchie. I just think this is too good of a fit. They've lacked center depth for quite some time, probably since Eric Stahl had his last salad days in Minnesota. And then Mikael Granlund was another center with them that was also having good years in Minnesota. But I think this just makes too much sense here. If he's available 21 and Minnesota doesn't take him, I'd be shocked. I really would. So that's who I have there. Steven, you have 22, Philadelphia from LA.
Philadelphia. Yeah, Philadelphia. They drafted we had them draft Reinbacher, right, in the first round.
Yeah, I had them take Reinbacher at 7.
Yeah. So with the next pick, who did they get that from? The 22nd overall pick. LA.
Yeah.
Yeah. Otto Stenberg there.
Ooh, I like that. I hate to see him go there, but I like the pick.
I'm putting players with teams in this mock draft that make me hate myself.
So you're a misanthrope, basically.
Like
right.
More to Pittsburgh, and now this guy to Flyers. It's in the division. It happened a couple of years ago where the Carolina Hurricanes kept drafting guys that I liked. Like it's like they were it's like I was their general manager in a video game. Like the guys that they drafted, I'm like, oh, there's another one. And they all end up in our division for some reason. So hopefully I'm wrong about this one.
Yeah, I you know what? I think it makes sense there. They could use a center. Got some talent, good offensive player. I think he's going to be a top 6 forward at the NHL level. I would hate to see that. I think he complements the other pieces that they have pretty well. So the Rangers at 23.
And Phil, I haven't been able to use this for a full year, but the pick is in. Who are the New York Rangers using?
Who are the New York Rangers drafting?
It's gonna be off the board. You know this. Smartest guy in the room syndrome.
I swear to God, they gotta lock him out right now. There's a name you guys haven't mentioned yet, and I wouldn't be surprised. It's the one that everybody's projecting.
I like Musty. I do. I really do. I think that he could be a real good pick there. If Willander is available, I wouldn't even be surprised if they were looking at him. You know what though? I know I've said on Twitter that I don't think that they would go towards Europeans, but just because of the direction in this franchise. But I could absolutely see this happening. And I'm just going to say, screw it. I'm going bold here. Daniel Boot. I could see it. When you have that type of size, that type of skating, that type of skill, I think it might be hard for them to pass up on that. And I don't think he's your prototypical Russian and all that other, nonsense that they go towards. But he's big. He's skilled. He can skate very well. I think he can drive play at 5-on-5, which is something this team needs badly. I think Musty could too. I really do. I think he's that type of player. But I think if you do a few very small fine-tuning tweaks with him, I think he could be a top-notch winger in this league for a while. So I could see them taking him.
And who is your smartest guy in the room pick for the Rangers?
Oh, geez, you want me to do that? Oh, for me.
Wow, that's a good question.
That's a tough one. That really is. If they went off the board and took someone like, I don't know, I like Riley Heidt and Gavin Brindley, but I think it might be a little too high for them. I think not that this is smartest pick in the room. I think it's the Rangers like to make risky picks, and if Edward Chalet was available, that would be a risky pick for them. I think it would be value at 23, but I also think it would be a risky pick considering the up and down season he's had.
Yeah, and the Rangers don't have a second-round pick, so they might reach for someone that they otherwise couldn't get.
Oh,
yeah,
like Charlie Strammer or something.
Oh, just
I don't.
The guy that you should take.
Strammer would be like the borderline nepotism type pick because
yes.
we watch Minnesota. And,
yes,
Wisconsin,
yes.
And
would you be surprised?
No, and that would be a pick that would piss me off.
Yeah.
So, no Gavin Brindley. For a second, I thought Wood was there, but we had him go at 11.
Yeah. If Wood was there, they don't take Wood. I am throwing something through my TV.
Well, who knows? Maybe Gordy Clark went to go scout another defenseman and saw another one and said, "That's the guy we're taking." All right.
Great. 24 is Nashville from Edmonton. That is you, Steven.
Yeah. So for Nashville, let me check here. One sec. It's getting difficult now because we're picking players that are a little bit like off the board for some teams. So I just need to make sure that players weren't picked yet. Yeah, Nashville is probably a team that could go after Quentin Musty. They need so much. Like as you said, they traded away Johansson. Duchesne doesn't have much time left there. He's making $8 million. He's like 3 years left. Defensively, I think they're going to be okay. They need some offense because other than Forsberg, what else do they have on offense?
Yeah, and to me, they lack a lot of offense, and Musty could be a play driver. And I agree with you; it makes a lot of sense. It really does.
And to circle back to your pick for the Rangers, yeah, a guy that's 6'4" in his draft year, that screams Drury pick to me.
Yeah, I could see it. But the good part about it is that he has the size. He has the skating to complement that size, and that's something that they've gone away from in recent years and gone for size and grit over skating ability. So, Riley Heidt would be another one I could maybe see, but I think that might be a little too high for him. I think he's towards the end of the round. Jesus Christ, Marc. You had to, didn't you? You had to. And it's not even pronounced that way, but you had to. Get that off the screen. Jeez.
It's gone.
Unbelievable.
He should have been drafted by a Canadian.
It's Marc, so it's par.
He should have been drafted by a Canadian team, Phil.
Or have Dominic Moore announce it. He could reprise the Bobby Granger commercials.
Steve, Boutine?
Because then they would have drafted a boot.
Oh.
They would have drafted a boot or a Boutine.
Yeah, I kind of like the Boutine thing too. So that would work too.
If he goes to a Canadian team, that's his nickname. If he goes to Montreal Boutine. Somehow, then Boutine is his nickname.
Yeah, it's got to be. So St. Louis from Toronto. You know what? I think this is where the fall stops for me. I've seen this guy ranked as high as I think it was it Craig Button had him at 11. I know some people have their opinions on Craig Button. I like him personally. Nice guy. I've interviewed him before. I have Tom Willander here. I think they need a defenseman. There's word that Torrey Krug doesn't want to waive his no trade clause, which is what's holding up that deal. But St. Louis was making a big deal. I think Tom Willander makes a lot of sense for St. Louis if he's available at 25. And it's a really good value pick, too. So,
by the way, quick question, guys. Do you think that there might be a precedent now that's going to start with teams having players having no trade clauses, and they'll be traded to a team that's not on their list, and then they try to get him flipped to another team that's on their list?
Could be. I think we're going to see that with Torrey Krug. But I think, not to go too far off topic here, I think general managers are trying to find like the edges of the CBA a little bit more the last couple of years.
Like the double buyout window that was very big this year.
The double buyout window, the 3-team trade, the double retention in trades.
Yeah.
And for the first time, the first sign and trade we saw.
Yeah. Severson.
Yeah, there was one more sign and trade, I think.
Nope.
Not this year, but I mean all time.
That was the first one ever in the NHL. The first sign and trade. Other teams have acquired a player at the deadline and signed him to an extension. Like Mark Stone, for instance,
or Horvat this year.
Matthew Tkachuk, but there hasn't been a situation where a player signs with the team he's with and then is traded to the team so he can get that 8th year. Because if Severson was traded straight up to was it Columbus?
Yeah, to Columbus. He wouldn't have gotten an 8 year.
He would only be eligible for 7 years because he wasn't on the Columbus reserve list at the deadline earlier this year.
Yeah.
So we're seeing general managers more and more find the the limits of the CBA, which I think is very interesting.
Steven,
No, I like that too.
Quick question: would you have given 8 years, 6.25 AAV to Damon Severson?
No, but I'm not. Look, it's different for a team like Columbus. You know, they may have to overpay a little bit to get the players they want. And you know, John Davidson's in charge there, so anything is possible.
Steven, it's all you at 26.
26, the San Jose Sharks, with their second pick in the draft, because they got, of course, a top 5 pick earlier, Oliver Bonk of the London Knights, the right-handed defenseman.
Okay, that is a good one. It's funny because Craig Button actually had them taking Michael Rabel, goalie, Omaha, USHL, which was interesting because I didn't think there was going to be a goalie this year, but they could use one, and they just let one go inexplicably, and he ended up winning a Stanley Cup.
Yeah, but do general managers not pay attention to goalies in the NHL?
Elite goalies haven't won the Stanley Cup in the last couple of years.
But the name, okay, aside from Carey Price and Andrei Vasilevsky, has there been a goalie that was worth the first round pick that was used for them? No.
Well, the jury's going to be out on Askarov. So
yeah, with a lot of goalies, it's too soon to tell. But
would you say that Fleury was worth it?
First overall, no. In the 2003 draft, are you kidding me? No. Fleury's not the reason the Penguins won 3 cups.
No,
that's correct too.
Yeah, and I listen. Don't get me wrong. I actually like Marc-Andre Fleury. He's a great dude. He's a great personality for the NHL. They should have marketed the hell out of him more because he's a funny guy. He's relatable. He's down to earth. I love everything about him as a person. But Marc-Andre Fleury is not the best goaltender of his generation. I don't think he's particularly close to Henrik Lundqvist either. And not only that, but he was never, to me, he was never even the second most important player on any of those cup-winning teams. And I would argue in 2009 that he may have been the 4th most important player on that team.
Okay.
So in 2016 and 2017, not even top 4 on that team.
No, I think he might not even be top 5.
No.
I think you guys would get this. I said I threw this one out at everybody at the bar the other night. There's been top of my head 3 Vezina Trophy winners since post-lockout era to win the Stanley Cup, and one of them did it after he won the Vezina after he won a cup. So technically, if you want to say there was only 2.
Tuukka Rask is the one that won it after he won a cup. He won
Sorry,
a
there's
cup in
3 then.
2011, and then he won the Vezina in 2014. Thomas won the Vezina and the Stanley Cup in the same season in 2011. Another Vezina winner that won a cup. You said 3?
Sorry. Yeah, one of them that won it, and then he won a cup afterwards.
Is
I
it
wasn't even
Vasilevsky?
counting Rask in this one. I'm talking about starting goalie.
Starters that won a Vezina and
We just mentioned his name,
Vasilevsky.
Fleury.
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 Fleury won it in 2009, then the Vezina 2 years ago. And Vasilevsky is the other one, by the way. Vasilevsky won the Vezina and then a Stanley Cup.
Yeah, but Rask is technically, I guess, a part of that conversation.
Yeah.
But, yeah. All right.
But this just proves even more that you don't build around goalies to win a Stanley Cup.
No, you don't.
So why would you pick them in the first round?
You know what's funny? It's Aiden Hill.
The Vegas Golden Knights won with Aiden Hill. The Colorado Avalanche won with Darcy Kemper. Are you kidding me? Jordan Binnington for the Blues. Braden Holtby, who's a decent goalie, but he's not he's not going to get into the Hall of Fame.
Braden Holtby had to earn back his net in 2018 and then win the Stanley Cup
because he lost to the Grubauer.
Yeah,
and then 2016 and 17, you had the whole Fleury Murray debacle.
And correct me if I'm wrong. The last New York Rangers goaltender drafted in the first round, Al Montoya.
Well, I'll tell you, 6 overall, 2004,
and Dan Blackburn before that,
2001, 10th overall, I believe.
And their most successful goaltenders of the last 20 years were drafted in the 7th and 4th rounds.
Yeah, but even if you look now, Ullmark, Shesterkin, Sorokin, Saros,
late round picks.
You talk about mid-round picks. Just get your goalie in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th round. It's no brainer.
So is this gonna be a trend? You don't draft goalies in the first round anymore?
Teams will still do it.
All right. So 27 to the Colorado Avalanche. It's an odd number, so that's you, Philk.
Yeah, that's me. All right, so let's see who's available. He's taking. This is a tough one. Bach was just taken too. This is where it gets a little interesting. You know what? I'm going to go with Ethan Gauthier here. I think Colorado could use a winger. I think it's a good fit right now at this point. They could really use somebody that could come in and help get them some scoring on the wings. I think Gauthier could end up being that guy. His father was actually former Calgary Flame and Philadelphia Flyer Denny Gauthier. I'm sure you guys both remember him. Big hitter. Big bruiser. So, I would I think he makes a lot of sense there at 27.
All right. Let's go to number 28.
28, that's the Toronto Maple Leafs, if I'm not mistaken.
You're correct.
You are correct, yes, from Boston.
All right. I see the Toronto Maple Leafs going with the defenseman. So to me, it's a toss-up between Gulyayev, Mikhail Gulyayev from Russia, or Theo Lindstein from Sweden.
And that's pronounced avant-garde?
Avant-garde Omsk.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which was whose team, Mark? Come on.
Walt, I forgot.
Alexei Sharapanov and Yarmir Yager's team.
There you go. All right.
So, Steven, who do you got? Lindstein or Gulyayev?
It's a tough one. It could go either way for me. There's not much separating them, only that they're stylistically different. I'm gonna go with Gulyayev for Toronto.
Okay. All right. I think that's a solid pick there. Questions about his defense. Could move the puck.
If there's questions about the defense, he fits right in Toronto.
Yeah, well, that's true. That's true. Toronto doesn't seem to know what that is.
How has that organization not addressed their defense in the last 7 years?
How have they not addressed their goaltending? It seems like they haven't had a good goaltender since Curtis Joseph.
Thanks. I was ready to say Curtis Joseph, but I didn't know where you're going on that one.
You know who they should have gone after? Georgiev, because he's always lights out in Toronto.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
I mean, he could play 30 games there, and yeah, you could, or you could just purposely start at home and not start on the road.
Exactly. But by the way, do you know why the Hockey Hall of Fame is in Toronto?
Why is that?
So Maple Leafs players can see the cup too.
Savage!
Oh man, that's actually great. One of my favorite things was there was the meme that went around of Frank Grimes looking at Homer Simpson. Frank Grimes had the Maple Leafs insignia on, and Homer Simpson had the Vegas one. And he just says, "You've won the Stanley Cup already? Yeah, you never have." Oh man, the post-expansion era has not been kind to our neighbors to the north.
No.
All right.
Not that I care. Dallas. Not that I care, but yeah.
No. You know what? This is too much of a. I think he would be a perfect complement to Robert Thomas. Riley Heidt for St. Louis. Really, another really good two-way player. I think he would fit perfectly in St. Louis. I mean, you could take a wing there if necessary. Someone to complement Jordan Kyrou, but Riley Heidt for me, just it makes a lot of sense. And I think if he was available at 30, I think Carolina would absolutely take him too. So, and speaking of which, I'm going to leave that to you.
Carolina, I'm going with Kasper Haltunen there for Carolina with the 30th pick. Winger from Finland, 6'3", 192 pounds. Played some time in Liga for IFK in Helsinki, and also in the minors on loan this past season.
All right, I was wondering where my thing was for him. Okay, looking.
Had a really good under 18 World Juniors, by the way, for Finland. 6 goals, 4 assists in 5 games. I think it's kind of Carolina seems to really like go into Finland for their picks. You know, it's if the Finnish embassy ever needs to relocate, just put it in Raleigh at this point.
Yeah, that is true. That is true.
Right.
It makes sense. They do love their big Finnish players. So yeah. So Montreal 31. This is the pick from Florida. So they took. Let's see here. We had them taking Michkov at 5. Did they have another pick as well?
No, they did. They did not.
No, so this will be their second pick.
Yeah.
So Craig Button had them mocked with taking Anton Wahlberg from Malmo in the SHL Junior League. I don't know if I necessarily see that. I think this one, it should be a name familiar to Ranger fans, since we have somebody in our system with that last name. Steven, you probably already know what I'm talking about because he's on the back of your door over there.
Oh, David Edstrom.
Yeah, David Edstrom from Frölunda. I think this could be – I know it's a center, and I know that you could take Michael Rayball there. I just think he's probably one of the best players available at this pick, and I think they just go best player available. I don't think they care about position. Could they take a defenseman there? Sure, you could. But what it comes down to for me is, do they value Lindstein over him? And that's or Maxim Sturbach could be another one. So I think I think Edstrom is probably the best player at that point. I just think they take the best player.
Mm-hmm.
And the Vegas Golden Knights with the first-round draft pick. I'm not sure if those words have ever been uttered together.
About Stanley Cup winner?
Yeah, well, Stanley Cup winner, definitely. But
Stanley Cup winner, Vegas Golden Knights with their first round pick.
But I mean, Vegas has traded away every first-round pick they've ever made. Or
I think Nicholas Hague is the only one left.
Okay.
But yeah, it's a toss-up because like sometimes it's a toss-up because teams need everything. With Vegas, it's a toss-up because they don't really need anything. They have, even though they keep trading away players, and they also acquire players through waivers, through minor trades, the way they get added Keegan Colasar and Brett Howden. But what really stands out to me is how their front office has always gone to players with a history in the WHL. They have their own history scouting there, working for those teams, and those ties remain strong. So I definitely see them going for a kid out of the WHL. And this is going to be a little bit of a personal pick too, because I love this player as a Seattle Thunderbirds fan. But this is a guy that has a lot of upside, and the Vegas Golden Knights can afford to go with a guy with high upside, even though he like the probability of him reaching a ceiling is not that high. Grayson Sawchin.
Wow. You know what's funny? The hockey guy actually mocked him to Colorado at 27. So
that's gonna be. I want Mark to type this out. This name.
Oh, actually, I think I could do this one. Hold on. Let's see if I got this.
Great.
Now I just have to figure out one thing.
This is hilarious.
Grayson Sawcheck, right? Grayson Sawcheck?
No,
yes.
You screwed it up already. The pronunciation is just wrong.
Yeah, no, I'm going to Terry Sawcheck. There we go. Phil, fix it for me. But there you go.
Oh my God!
How bad?
No! You got the first and last name wrong.
Ah, damn it! I knew there needed to be. You had a 50-50 shot, either the E or the A.
It's 2023, Mark. First names are spelled in ways you couldn't imagine.
Wow, Mark.
Wow. Focus fixing it for me right now.
Oh my God. You would, Mark. You would.
Look, I'm
going with a simple name. If I ever have a daughter, it's going to be Madison. So,
with one or two D's.
Just one D.
Okay. That sounds bad.
Well, no. When she walks up to me and says, "Was I named after the garden?" I'm going to have to tell her yes.
Yep.
There you go.
My God.
Grayson Sawchin.
All right. I think that's why I mixed it up to Terry Sawchuk at first.
This already makes the pick worth it.
Yeah, I do think there's upside with him. I've seen him mocked in the first round in some mocks. I've also seen him as a second rounder. I think he's great value as a second rounder. I really do. I'm not sure on him as a first rounder though. Speaking
of the second round, the Detroit Red Wings have 3 consecutive picks early in the second.
And they could easily take him with one of those picks. If
41, 42, 43. Like if Grayson Sawchin is there, then and you have 3 picks there, shoot for the stars, man. Use at least one of those picks on a boom or bust guy.
Yeah, exactly. Again, depth and affordability. Can you afford to take that risk?
Yeah.
Now, do you think Vegas will start stockpiling for this system now that they've actually won a cup?
I don't think they're going to move anybody away. I think they're going to try to keep that success sustained. I don't know if they'll be as aggressive in kind of like trying to get players at the deadline and dealing picks away going forward. But yes. I definitely don't see them dealing players away to restock picks right now. They're still in win now mode.
Perfectly said there. I don't think they're going to be as aggressive acquiring players, but they're not going to trade them away for futures either. They're not there yet. Of course, you have some older players like Riley Smith and Jonathan Marchessault are 32. Mark Stone is 31. William Karlsson's 30. But this team can easily go for another cup.
Very easily. It's a question of can Adin Hill duplicate it.
The only question mark I had for Vegas in the West is the Colorado Avalanche, but they're going to be without Landeskog all season long.
Yeah, they're going to be without Landeskog, and then
but Ryan Johansson doesn't move the needle.
No. Yeah, but you need production on the wings. Where's their winger production aside from Rantanen at this point?
Yeah,
basically.
And they might be without Valerian Nichushkin.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that's a might.
Well, we don't know what's happening there. So there. What kind of wingers do they have left? JT Compher?
I think he's a free agent.
Who might be moving? He's a free agent, and he's going to be probably.
There you go.
He's probably going to be one of the big free agents on the market because.
So Arturi Lehkonen is their best winger next season. Which
there's no more than Andre Burakovsky.
I love Arturi Lehkonen, but if he's your best winger, you're not going to win a cup.
No, not at all.
No,
that's bad.
I don't care how good Makar is. Makar and McKinnon cannot carry this team to a cup.
No, and not with subpar goaltending.
Yeah, this team lost to the Seattle Kraken.
Yeah,
who had subpar goaltending all year.
Yeah, and that's the thing. How did the Colorado Avalanche lose to a team that had 2 sub-900 goaltenders in save percentage?
Because they weren't sub-900 in the playoffs. That's the only answer.
They had to be because during the season they weren't that good, and they were.
But Phil, we see this all the time in the playoffs. Like, Chicago won a cup with Antti Niemi in it, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, Antti Niemi was honestly. If it's not for Adin Hill and Kemper, Niemi might be the worst goaltender to win the cup in the last, I would say, 25 years.
In the salary cap era,
Easily in the salary cap era, but even the last 25 years, if you think about it, maybe he might be the worst since Ranford.
And you're talking about the rest of their career, not just that one season. Because Jordan Binnington, if you talk about the encapsulating the entire career, Jordan Binnington's right there. Jordan Binnington's a sieve.
Jordan Binnington is another one in that conversation. Yeah, but I mean, Adin Hill is far worse off.
No. By the way, if you're looking for a goalie, just go talk to the San Jose Sharks. They traded Kiprasov to the Calgary Flames, who then made the Stanley Cup final.
And some people argue won it on a Martin Jelena goal.
Yeah, and then now they did it again with Adin Hill.
Yeah, it's interesting to think about.
And yet Toronto couldn't get anything out of Vesa Toskala.
Oh God, the only thing that Toronto got out of Vesa Toskala was a Rob Davidson goal from about the opposite blue line.
I remember this.
Nassau Coliseum. It was one of the worst goals I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
Arturs Urbe, was he drafted by San Jose?
He was. I think he was either drafted or because he was in the upset over Detroit.
He was drafted by Minnesota in 1989.
Yeah, and then he went in the expansion draft, I guess.
Yes, 91. He was one of their first goaltenders. He was not their starter in 92, though.
Yeah,
he did lead them to the 2 playoff upsets, one over Detroit and then one over Calgary.
Do you know who their starter was in 92?
Kelly Rudy.
No, Kelly Rudy was not there until years later, Mark.
Wait,
Kelly Rudy was in LA in 93 when they went to the finals, bud.
Oh.
By the way, Arthur's
Jeff
Irbe left both the Dallas Stars and the Carolina Hurricanes 2 years before they won a cup.
Oh, by the way, Phil,
Wow.
wait, did you actually just say Jeff Hackett?
Jeff Hackett, yes.
All right, good, because I was hoping you didn't say it, and I got it on my own.
No,
Because I remember he had the one that opened he had the jaw, the shark mouth opened.
5 different players or 5 different goalies played for San Jose in the 91-92 inaugural season. Jeff Hackett led with 42. Wade Flaherty had 3. Arturs Irbe had 13. Brian Hayward had 7. And Yarmo, I don't know if I'm mispronouncing this or not, but Milish, Myllys. So I'm not sure if I'm mispronouncing it. I don't even remember this guy.
And David, you know my thoughts on Georgie. I don't believe in him. He gets off his angles when he loses the slightest amount of confidence, and then he starts like just with an attitude, and anything can go by him after that.
By the way, if you want to talk about a goalie carousel, the 2018-19 Philadelphia Flyers had 8 different goalies start a game for them that season.
Yeah, that was ridiculous.
It was Carter Hart, Brian Elliott, Kelvin Pickard, Anthony Stolarz, Cam Talbot, Michael Neuvert, Alex Lyon, and Mike McKenna.
Jesus.
They had 8 goalies start a game for them in the regular season.
I mean, the 2010 Flyers had 3 different goalies win playoff games in 2010 going to the Stanley Cup Finals. But Peter Laviolette probably doesn't know what he's doing.
It was Leighton Boucher and...
I'm trying to remember the last guy. It's definitely the third one.
Oh, was it Ray Emery? No.
No, I don't think Emery... Was he there at that point?
Or was it Backlund?
Hold on. No,
because I know they had 3 of them.
Emery was there. No, it probably was Ray Emery then. Because Ray Emery was a Flyer in 2010.
It's either Emery or Backlund.
Looks like it was Emery. I don't think Backlund played in the playoffs.
Always in the playoffs. Backlund, Boucher, Leighton.
Oh, Ray Emery didn't play in the playoffs?
Yeah, didn't have him in the playoffs. He had 29 games in the regular season. That's probably what happened. He got injured.
Wow.
That team, I think it's still amazing about that team. They were down 3-0 in the series and 3-0 in Game 7 and won it all. Like, I don't know.
I have a question for Phil. Now we're on the topic of goalies. There's one player who has scored against Henrik Lundqvist for 5 different teams. Can you name him?
Wait, a player that scored against Lundqvist on 5 different teams?
For 5 different teams in the NHL.
I think I got him. I know I got 4.
Tomas Tatar?
Nope.
Player that scored on 5, or you said 5 different teams, right?
Yep.
Active player?
No longer an active player. I'll give you the teams. Buffalo Sabres, Detroit Red Wings, Florida Panthers, Minnesota Wild, New York Islanders.
Wow, it's not who I was thinking of. I thought it was the number 5. I believe the number 5 player that scored the most goals behind past Lundqvist, which was Blake Como.
Blake Como scored for 4 teams: the Avalanche, the Stars, the Islanders, and the Penguins.
That's why I said I only had 4.
What were the teams?
Right,
the Sabres, the Panthers, the Islanders,
the Wild, and the Red Wings.
This is a good one, Steven.
Islanders, Wild, Red Wings.
We should just do a recording where we ask each other quiz questions.
Yeah.
Like Rangers trivia.
This is an interesting one.
He scored 11 goals in total against Lundqvist in his NHL career.
Sabres, Wild, Red Wings, Islanders, and Panthers. This is going to be it's going to be like a depth player, isn't it?
Yeah, it's definitely a depth player.
I don't know, man. I think
the Panthers is what's screwing me up a little bit.
He was a 5th overall draft pick.
Thomas Vanek?
Thomas Vanek. Yep.
Wow. Okay.
All right. How about that?
Thomas Vanek.
Yeah, that checks out. I think I forgot about him as a Red Wing.
I mean, 2 40-goal seasons, 2 30-goal seasons. It's not a depth player in my book, but
no, he was definitely he was like Mr. Trade Deadline guy for a while.
Fifth overall draft pick, that's when I put it together. I was like, fifth overall draft pick, played for those teams, and then I realized it was Wild, and then the fifth overall draft pick clicked when I thought about Buffalo. I was like, all right, 2003 draft, that's it.
And it could have been sixth if he scored in the playoff series with Montreal. Because he was up there.
But this is regular season only, of course.
By the way, Steven, he almost did. He was the one that took the shot that Henrik
it wasn't a shot. It was a pass.
So players that scored on Lundqvist for 4 different teams. You already mentioned Blake Como. Jussi Jokinen is another one.
Not you a pain in the ass.
Andrew Ladd.
Pittsburgh.
And you see, okay.
So
Andrew Ladd's got the Islanders.
Hold on. Jokinen first.
All right, we got the 4th team with Jokinen, huh?
4th team in Jokinen. Okay, so we got Pittsburgh, Dallas, Florida.
Yep, one more to go.
LA?
Nope.
Why am I thinking Minnesota?
Nope.
No, he wasn't on Minnesota.
I mean, he's Finnish. It kind of makes sense. This 4th.
Carolina.
Yep.
Yeah.
Once you said that, it was.
Yeah.
For Como, it's Colorado, Dallas, Islanders, and Pittsburgh. Then there's Andrew Ladd.
Carolina.
Yep.
Chicago.
Nope.
Winnipeg and the Islanders.
He didn't score against the Rangers in Chicago?
Nope.
Then it was Arizona.
Right, so Carolina, Winnipeg, Islanders, and Arizona?
Arizona.
Nope.
Huh.
All right, hold on. So we got Winnipeg.
It's a bit of an asterisk, this 4th team, because, technically.
Oh, Thrashers?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, God. Wow. Yeah.
And then the last.
It's the same organization. You forget that he was a Thrasher.
Are you really counting that as a 4th team then?
Well, you count it as a 4th team.
Steven?
See, by the way, with Steven's doing that, you know what? Phil, he totally marked you. It's a 4th team, but it's not a 4th franchise.
Yes. Then there's Brett Connolly.
I'm calling shenanigans on that one.
Brett Connolly, Boston, Washington, Lightning, Chicago?
Nope.
Florida?
Yep.
Got it.
Damn it.
Then there's 3 more. Clark MacArthur.
That's a weird one.
Ottawa, Boston,
Buffalo.
Boston is not one of them, but Ottawa and Buffalo, yes.
Ottawa, Buffalo. Where else? Toronto.
Yeah. One more.
Let's see. Where the fuck else did he play?
Yeah, I'm having trouble with it. All I keep thinking about is him getting the OT winner against the Bruins. I think that was 2017. All right. I'm tapping out on that one. I can't remember the last team he played on.
Atlanta.
Another one's in Atlanta. What else is there?
All right, and then the last 2. They only scored 4 goals against Lundqvist, but for like 1 for each of the 4 teams.
Jesus Christ, this one's going to be hard. Oh God!
All right, what was it again? The last 2.
I will give you. I will
only have 4 goals in total, but it's 1 for each team against Lundqvist.
I will give you this. Their first and last names all start with the same letter for these 2 players.
First and last names start with the same letter?
Yeah. So there's 2 first names and 2
Like it
last
would be
names.
like Gerard Gallant and
All 4 start with the same letter.
alliteration at its best. Okay.
Alliteration, yeah.
Jeez.
Good one.
That's not giving much.
So you don't have to worry about Aaron Voros. I can tell you that.
Nope.
Well, yeah, Aaron Voros. Jesus.
Aaron Voros, he had like 5 assists in Marian Gabourik's 5-goal game.
One of them is a former Ranger, by the way. Starts with a B.
Oh God.
Blair Betts.
No.
No, definitely not. Definitely not.
Starts with a B. It's not Brendan Shanahan, obviously.
Obviously, his initials are BS.
BB, yeah. There's a whole lot of
BB. Brian Boyle.
Brian Boyle is one.
Brian Boyle, damn it.
Florida, LA, New Jersey, and Tampa.
Okay.
And the other one with the initials BB.
BB, another B.
Oh, another BB.
Yeah, another BB. Active player?
Nope. Retired in 2014. The teams are Boston, Buffalo, Florida, St. Louis.
Brad Boyce.
Got it, Brad. Yeah. Damn
Brad
it.
Boyce.
Brad Boyce. Brad Boyce used to have Cy Young stats every single year. He would have like 27 goals and like 8 assists. I would still be bewildered about that one. Like, how the hell do you? I'm trying to remember, who was it? The defenseman Boston traded for Brad Boyce.
Was that Mark Stewart?
Stewart. Could be
Mark Stewart.
I remember thinking that was a trade that worked out for both teams because I used to have Brad Boyce.
Oh, no. I see who it is. Dennis Weidman.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, Dennis Weidman, the ref's best friend. Boy.
And what player was Brad Boyce a part of in a big trade as a prospect?
Oh, I know this one. I'm not going to give it away. See if Mark gets it.
Guys, unfortunately, I'm staring right at the transactions page. So it's Owen Nolan.
Yeah.
So I had that one. And it makes sense how he would get to Toronto from San Jose. That's how that happened. I always forget Owen Nolan was a Maple Leaf. But if you're from Ontario, sooner or later, you play for the Maple Leafs.
Yeah.
Hi, John Tavares.
Yeah,
except for Eric Lindros.
Except for Eric Lindros.
No, Eric Lindros played for them.
Oh, yeah.
He did. Yeah. No, yeah, he did. Yeah.
I think he played for them right before he played for Dallas.
Yep. It was the 2005-2006 season.
Yeah. Like Lindros and Nedved had like this tail end of their career where they were just like journeymen, and it felt so wrong.
Yeah.
By the way, Alex Galchenyuk on his 9th NHL team.
Yeah, Anthony made a joke the other day that, or was it you that made the joke? It was you, the Mike.
He's going to make a run at Mike Sullinger.
Yeah, the current active player with the most teams played is Derek Brassard with 10.
Did he officially retire yet?
No.
And Sillinger has 12.
Had what, 12?
Sillinger had 12, yeah.
So it was Detroit, Philly, St. Louis,
Florida,
Columbus, I think, was one of them. All
right, so Detroit, Vancouver, Islanders, the Mighty Ducks.
Nice.
The Mighty Ducks of Anaheim.
Yeah.
Flyers, Lightning, Panthers, Blue Jackets, Blues, Senators, Coyotes, Predators.
Oh, shit.
Jesus. Man. And he got better as his career went along, funny enough.
Yeah, he was a hell of a player.
Galchenyuk is on his 9th team, but he only played for 8.
Well, yeah. Well, once he plays for
Colorado, yeah.
No. Okay, so of the 8 teams he's been on so far, he's only played for 7. Which one team did he not play for?
Hold on. So he played for Montreal. He played for Pittsburgh. He played for Arizona.
played for Toronto.
He played with Toronto. That's 4.
Did Carolina get his rights and never use it?
There you go. Bingo. Carolina.
Mark got it.
There you go.
Mark. Without using the screen.
Without having it open. That's the thing. I was even worried about that. You're like, who is Brad Boyes traded for it? It's just, I'm staring at the screen right now.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Alex Galchenyuk was traded to the Carolina Hurricanes on the 13th of February in 2021 for Ryan Dzingel from the Ottawa Senators. And then 2 days later, they traded him to Toronto.
Oh, my God. Yeah. I'm going to have to head out, though. I have some
plans. Yeah, we're all going to have to head out. Steven, first off, thanks for coming on with us. It's after midnight where you are right now, right?
No, it's only 10:55, man.
Oh, it's only till 10:55? I thought it was like 11 o'clock for some reason. All right.
In 5 minutes, it's 11 o'clock. Yes, that's what 10:55 means.
Yeah, but I mean, I thought when we started, it was like 11 o'clock.
Oh, okay. Oh, now I see what you mean.
just like Grayson. However the hell that name is spelled again.
It's 10:55. I thought it was 11 o'clock. Well, 5 minutes.
This is great. The host going, however the hell that name is spelled.
Well, I remember my mom used to do personalized children's furniture, and he said that she spelled Danielle without an A and 2 Y's were in it, and she's just screaming. And even at that, we're all sitting there trying to figure out how that's spelled, but people got weird spellings for names. It just happens. All right.
The weirdest spelling I've ever seen for a name was Ladasha.
Yeah, with a dash.
It's LA-A.
You don't pronounce the A. The dash, I mean. It's how about the weirdest spelling I've heard one time is there was a girl that spelled it Nevaeh.
It's heaven backwards.
Correct.
Nevaeh.
Okay. Another one is it's spelled ABC.
Nevaeh would be a nice name, by the way, but that's not the way language works.
No. I saw another name that's spelled ABCDE, and it's pronounced Absidy. The fuck?
Yeah. You're like, what?
That's child abuse, man. That's Child Protective Services should step in there. That's ridiculous.
No, first off, slap the mother and then go, all right, look, we're going to have to fix the name because this doesn't make sense. Again, it's not how language works.
Naming someone Thomas. Yeah,
or I mean, there's a lot of those. Like Pete Peters was one of those back in Golden for the Capitals.
It's actually Peters and not Peter.
Right.
Like Thomas would just be like, are you serious right now? Did you really
have your child?
Tommy Thomas
in the World Juniors for the Czech Republic, Ivan.
Oh yeah, that's right. That was a couple years ago.
And his middle name is also Ivan. No joke.
But I mean, that's just some of those things you're like, what are you doing? These kids, they're gonna have to live with this the rest of their lives, or hate you when they turn 18 and completely change it around.
I know. I mean, it's easy for us to talk. We're named Marc, John, and Steven. So
yeah. But I mean, then again, it would be like a Letterkenny when they're describing the names of the dicks and the snatches.
Look, Irish names don't make sense. Irish Scrabble must be so easy.
that is very true. All the Gaelic names. Oh my goodness. All right, we're about to restart an entirely different show right now, everybody. Yeah. But thanks. First off, thank you for Steven to join us for the draft. Phil, thank you for finally getting the format down. I had it completely wrong, so I have to credit you guys. You guys handled that brilliantly. And even when I was trying to not be in the way, I was still in the way. But
we'd be disappointed if he didn't get it wrong, Mark.
Yeah, well, that's a good thing. And guys, this is going to be an interesting draft. The one thing we didn't go over were potential mock trades that can happen, and that's going to throw a whole monkey wrench into all of this. Last year, the most amount of trades in a draft in like 20 years, because all the GMs were finally in a room together. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with that. Steven, again.
I wonder if the Nashville Predators and Tampa Bay Lightning will just use the same draft table, because the Predators' last pick is before the Tampa Bay Lightning's first pick.
You know what? I wouldn't be surprised if they just brought in John Malkovich. If Tampa Bay had a problem with them, they would just be like, "It's a joke anyway. We use your draft pick."
Basically, rounders.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was fun. I would love to do a draft recap after the draft to go over the Ranger draft picks. That sounds like fun.
We'll figure out some time to do all that again. Yes, because I'm going to be away till next Sunday anyway. So
all right.
Thank you very much, Steven. Thank you everybody for watching, and have a great time at the draft. I'm going to just skip right over the song, and thank you. We will talk to you soon. See you Wednesday nights.